We interrupt your regularly scheduled Animating Every Day Until I'm Good update to bring you our 15-week recap episode. To be completely honest, following the high of last week's project and animating something I was super excited about, I hit an insurmountable wall trying to pivot into a new project. Very stoppable force met immovable object, and burnout struck me down like the sun humbling Icarus. This endeavor to post my progress has been motivating in many ways, but by design it also comes with some measure of pressure not to lose that momentum for fear of letting some imagined and lately very real audience down. Between that and trying to build my portfolio and the looming threat of returning to a minimum wage misery just to survive if I can't figure out the next steps in my artistic career, I was overwhelmed to the point of absolute paralysis. The most relevant consequence being that this week I didn't make any art at all. I know every artist under the sun has talked about their experience with creative burnout, so I don't really have anything unique to say on the topic. There's a guilt that comes with hitting that wall, and wallowing in that guilt instead of recognizing you need to take a break and allowing yourself to take one will make it harder for you to actually take the time you need to recover that energy. At least that's my experience. It took me the whole week to let myself give up on trying to push forward, and I wish I had just committed to letting myself rest without guilt instead. So, in an effort to cheer myself up, I decided this week would just be dedicated to reflecting on what I've achieved so far. It's so easy to be proud of something I've made right after it's finished, but the shine of that achievement wears off quickly, and it's just as easy to forget how far I've come when I'm so focused on moving forward. The very first project we started with was our catwalk cycle. This was the very first colored piece I'd ever made in Clip Studio, as well as my first proper quadruped cycle, ignoring that disastrous attempt in college. I remember being very proud of it at the time, but of course with hindsight comes the ability to see all the places it needs improvement. Still, it was a great learning experience, and that momentum carried us over into the next project that I loved so much, all the way up until I tried to finish it out. The Roadkill God was so fun to work on, and I think the idea has a lot of potential. I loved getting to illustrate its guts hanging out and adding all the flies, but sadly the details were not enough to cover for the fact that I totally botched the movement. Even still, I think the concept is great, and I would love to go back and refine it someday when I've got the time. Maybe even adjust the design too while I'm at it, because I think it could be even more grotesque. I can't wait to scroll through even more photos of Roadkill for reference. For a very long stretch in the middle, I was chipping away at that Warrior Cats animation, which was all well and good until I came back to myself a little and realized this was taking up way too much time for the deadline I was on. We kind of left that behind after finishing the first cat and touching briefly on the second. It was during this project that I connected with my friends Ray and Star, who have been a huge help and motivation for me as a person with no other friends in my field. We got to draw that tomato together, and I got to practice my new painting skills on that pair afterwards. I should really keep practicing painting again before I forget everything I learned, now that I think about it. After shelving the Warrior Cats for a bit, it was time to start that animating something new every week speedrun I committed to, and we started off small with the planet animation. Simple as this was, it was also the first fully rendered, complete little scene I'd ever made entirely on my own, so it felt like a pretty major win for me. I'd love to go back and add some kind of subtle camera movement and maybe some like deep space white noise for ambiance, but for now, I'd say she looks good enough. Next up was the Not Stole a Gun animatic, which was admittedly more for fun than anything else. I remember thinking it would be enough to get the critical role bug out of my system, which we obviously know now is a very haha funny joke. It was, however, a great reminder that I really like animatics and that I really need to double down on those if I want to improve my animatic abilities. It passes for a fun internet project, but I really want to hone my craft when it comes to shot composition and layout, and maybe doing more of these more deliberately will be a good practice for developing those skills. Or maybe I'm just saying that so that next time you guys see me post a critical role animatic, it makes me look cool and professional instead of like a total dork, which like obviously I am, but that's not the point. The crowd animation never got completely finished, nor did I really focus on the actual crowd aspect enough for me to include it in a portfolio, but it was definitely a bold idea, and I'm glad I'll have something to start with when I'm ready to come back and finish it out. And finally, my thus far magnum opus, I guess, is the Just Not animation. I call it my magnum opus just because it's technically a complete project that I'm happy enough with to let stand for now, though truth be told it's hard not to watch it back 1,000 times and nitpick every detail. But we're not here to talk about what I did wrong. We're here to celebrate that I've come so far and done so much work in a relatively short amount of time, so you know what? I'm proud of myself. Maybe the economy sucks and I'll never get a real job, but if I can keep creating things I'm proud of that bring joy to the people who see them, then in a way, I'm still achieving my dreams. As long as you guys are around to support me and enjoy my art, it doesn't feel like it's for nothing. This week was hard, and there will inevitably be hard weeks again, but remembering how far I've come in just the past 4 months after years of artistic stagnation is equally as important as continuing to move forward. I'm thankful to each and every one of you who takes the time to stop in each week, and I hope we can continue to create and enjoy art together. As always, thank you, much love, and I'll see you guys in the next one.